I'm John.
I'm Mark,
And this is Making with Purpose.
All right, it's Mark and John. We're back in the Flow studio for podcast episode number 3. John, what are we going to be talking about during this podcast?
Well, this podcast, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, and it's going to be epic failures and what we learned from them.
That's right. Epic failures and what we learned the hard way. But a minute ago, you just said there is no such thing as a failure. So
There absolutely is not. And let me get into it because you were like, I don't know about that, right? So it goes way back. When I was 17 years old, I started working at a company called Vector Marketing. And if you were 17 years old in the past, and if you ever got that mail, which most people did, come work for Vector Marketing.
I got it.
Yep. I went and did that, and I ended up becoming a salesman for them, and I was selling Cutco knives. And at the age of, I believe it was 17 or 18, I was told to give a presentation, and out of that experience, out of cold selling at that age, I learned very quickly that there's no such thing as failure, right? After doing cold sales for so long, I realized that all it is a reflection or a mirror on what you're doing wrong, right? And it's your job to look and fix it. So basically, for me, failure has always been like, hey, look, you're winning on the left, and on the right, life is just telling you what you need to fix, so you can just end up winning again.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as a failure. I just see it as like a reminder, like, hey, dude, you got to fix that.
Exactly. Like they say, Michael Jordan took millions of shots that he missed.
Yeah.
Those are essentially failures. But along the way, what do you learn during those failures to grow and become better?
Yeah. And who has a championship rings to prove it?
That's right. Michael Jordan.
Right.
So along the way, guys, as you listen to this podcast, be sure to put in the comments if you have any questions that you would like John and I to address. Please go ahead and put that in the comments, and go ahead and like and subscribe to catch all of our future videos.
Absolutely. And we do read them. That's right. And our podcasts are based on the comments and what you guys are saying. So please subscribe, please comment, please interact. We really want to make sure that we're putting content out there that everyone can relate to and it's helpful. And who knows, if we can talk about some of our failures, you guys don't have to experience it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, hey, let's be open and honest during this podcast. Let's give them our failures, as embarrassing as it might be.
Yeah.
But with our China trip coming up, John and I are going to go to China here in a few weeks to visit our factories and say hello to all of our wonderful team members over there. We have a pretty big failure with our first trip to China. If you remember, this was 2018? When was this?
Maybe a little bit before that.
2017?
Yeah, we went pretty early on in our journey. Yeah.
So our first trip to China, we didn't know what to expect, and what happened in the airport. We have to connect in like Beijing, I think.
Oh God.
So we fly from Phoenix to LA to Beijing, and that was like a 15 hour flight.
Wait, this is not part of the plan. Where are you coming out of this story?
I know. This is a different story that I wanted to bring up. Surprise. And we get to Beijing, and we have to transition from Beijing to then go to Shanghai or something.
Well, I think we had booked 2 different legs because we went on some cheap website thing at the time because we just didn't know what to do, right? And we booked a leg that the website booked us 2 different flights with 2 different confirmation numbers.
Yeah.
So it
was one itinerary. I swear to God, it was one itinerary.
Well, it wasn't because of what happened. It was definitely 2 itineraries.
So we get to Beijing and we transition to the next flight, and then whatever city we go to, it was Shanghai or Xiamen or some small city. We get to the final destination, and John and I are sitting there waiting for our bags to come around the carousel, and people just start leaving the carousels. There's the airport is emptying out. We're still waiting for our bags. The carousel stops moving, and there's no bags there. And we're like, oh crap, where's our freaking bags at?
Yeah.
And we have our agent and one of our factory owners standing across the security line. We couldn't really get to her yet. And we're like, we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
We don't know who to talk to. Nobody spoke English at that smaller airport we were in.
Yeah.
And our bags never showed up. And we're like, we're mind blown what to do next.
Yeah. I think it was one of the scenarios where it's your first time, right? Your bags don't show up, like you said. You don't speak the language, and neither do they. and there's no one around you that can translate. I think that was like and it seems so like rudimentary. Like, oh, just pull your phone out and just pull out a translator. And I'm not really sure there was like a really good translator app for it, you
Yeah.
know? And so we're just kind of stuck at the airport. And I think the funniest thing I remember is that we were talking to the customer service rep there, and we keep saying the same thing over and over in English, as if like the third time I say it in English,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, I don't have my bags, and they keep speaking in Chinese over and over
And nowadays
again.
they have like all these translating apps and these earpiece things we could have used.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know what to do. We were like so mind blown. But come to find out, we were supposed to pick up our bags in Beijing and recheck them to the next flight.
Yeah, two itineraries.
Well, and that's sometimes a common practice when you get into certain international countries. But our first time going to China, we had no idea we needed to do that.
Yeah.
So basically, our bags were left in Beijing, super far away from where we ended up at.
Yeah.
And our bags, they told us our bags would be there in what, like 2 to 3 days if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we finally get our agent over to help us translate and figure this out. And she says 2 days they should be here. And then we're like, well, what are we supposed to wear?
Yeah.
And I swear to God, my dad told me, make sure you pack an extra change of clothes just in case, you know, you want to freshen up. I'm like, yeah, okay, Dad, like whatever. I'm good with my backpack. I'll check the rest, you know?
Yeah. And I think now both of us, well, I do especially if we go on a long trip, I take a backpack and I at least take 3 pairs of clothes with me because of that experience, right? But I think, I mean, we can get into it, but I think the funnier thing to even know further on how crazy it got was we didn't get our bags. We were supposed, they said 2 days or something, and in 3 days we were leaving that city.
That's right.
So we were like calling in incessantly every day, like, well, can we get our bags? Because if we didn't get it within those 3 days,
It's a tight schedule. When we
we
go
would
to
have
China,
been-
we're like in this city for 24 hours, this one for 36 hours, on to the next city, and like we're go. So
Yeah.
we can't wait 3 days for our bags.
Yeah, and it's not like we were traveling like 4 hours away. We were like, this is like China's big. Like we're going like, you know, a 4 or 5 hour flight, and it's almost like going from like Arizona to like Atlanta. Like you were going pretty far away, right? But anyways, we were in China, and we were basically like, I had flip flops, a pair of shorts,
Of course you
and a
did.
shirt. Yeah. It's always flip flops, right?
Flipper.
Yeah, and I don't flip flop anymore in planes. Learned my lesson.
Yeah.
But because that was brutal, like we were going to factories, and I was in like flip flops, and on all the manufacturers, like, who are these people?
Yeah.
Who are these kids?
Well, in India, this is common, right?
Yeah. Well, but not in China.
in China.
Yeah. No,
So
not
so
much.
our agent there was like, no problem, guys. I'll take you to the department store, like a Walmart-esque type place, and we'll get you new clothes. And we're like, oh, sweet, we're getting new clothes, woohoo. Well, here I go. You know, I'm 6'1", you know, big guy. You're a big guy.
I'm a big guy.
We go down this department store lane looking for some like underwear and some t-shirts. And I pull up a 3X shirt, and it's like itty bitty 3X. I'm like, oh, this is not American sizes. This ain't going to work that well.
I remember you went to the changing room, and you tried it
Because
on.
you begged me to try it on.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you gotta try it. At least you get fresh clothes, right?
Yeah.
And you come out, and it's like a muscle tee on
Oh
you.
yeah. It was like an Under Armour like tight undershirt. You know, I'm like ripping through it over here.
Yeah, but I think the more humbling or interesting experience was we're literally walking like through this market, right? And it was like when we walked in there, our agent had basically told us this is the Walmart of China.
Yeah.
And we were walking through there, and people are looking at us giggling, especially when we were in the underwear aisle, because everyone knew that there was nothing in that store that was
Yeah.
gonna fit us.
Some lady's like, I made that. It ain't going to fit you. You know.
But I did get one pair of jeans out of there because if you remember, the lady was custom tailoring it right then and there.
They had a seamstress on the spot.
Yeah.
And you were super excited for that because you got custom pair of jeans made that fit you perfectly.
I did, and I couldn't believe I found something that fit. But
Yeah.
but anyways, that is a really good story. I kind of forgot about that story.
That was a big fail, but you know what we learned is we made light of the situation. You know, we took those learnings into our future travel situations. Pack a second pair of clothes when you do travel.
Yes.
Whatever mistakes may happen, but you know, when stuff like that happens, sometimes it's just like it's out of your control. Like, what can you do? You messed up. We probably didn't hear them announce it in the plane because it probably wasn't in our language. You have to check your bags if you're moving on from here. And hey, we learned and moved on, and we laugh about it now.
Yeah, I think it's all about just persevering and knowing that everything is going to be okay. Just solve the little problems you can, get the little wins you can, and just keep moving forward. Right? Don't dwell over the silly things. Like we weren't at the airport yelling at the customer service agents. Although I think it got there because we kept saying the same thing over and over again in English, wondering why they weren't understanding.
Yeah.
But anyways, we weren't like rude, but like we just we laugh about it today, and I'm quite sure we were laughing about it, when we had gone to China, and it ended up being a wonderful trip, and we met some great people, and the people were very hospitable, and it was a great trip
Yeah.
overall. But that's a great story. It was a bit longer than I thought we were gonna go there, but it's good to reminisce here. But you know what? Let's get into it a little bit.
Okay.
So in today's episode, I want to really hunker down and talk about 4 or 5 key things that, when we started our business, what we ran into, the problems we ran into, how that was a failure or how that was a win, what we learned from it, and how that's made us better or maybe worse, or how do we look at those things, from the past. So we have a few key things that we're going to start off with,
Yeah.
and so let's just get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I think now that we're a supply company, we hear this more so than ever, and especially now that we have access to Temu, Alibaba, and all these places, I feel like we have these conversations with our customers even more,
Mhm.
right? So one of the first things I have on here for us is start small, right? Test fast, fail fast, and win fast,
Mhm.
right? So there's a lot of things I just said, but essentially the idea here is that you want to make sure that you understand what you're doing. If you're an engraving shop or a personalizing shop, you need to really understand, like, what is the service you're actually providing, and make sure that you're doing that service majority of your time, and you're not losing yourself in the other things that everyone gets lost in. Like, for example, getting too much inventory on hand just because it's cheaper,
Yeah.
right? Or just kind of like seeing a trend that's happening and that's blowing up, and then loading up on that and trying to get on that trend, and forgetting what your core is and completely going after that trend, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk about one of the things that happened in our past, and I would love for you to kind of talk about watch boxes.
Yeah. So in 2015, we were selling watch boxes on Etsy like crazy. And we were selling so many, we were buying up all the stock on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon couldn't even keep it in stock. And then we didn't really know what inventory that seller planned on holding when they were getting more inventory. We would just, if it was there, we would kept buying it and buying it because we were getting orders and orders of it. And then me and you were like, well, let's just order this from China and get like a container load of it. Let's put that investment in, and let's save the, 20% margin, in addition, and make that. But we had to put a big investment into that.
Yeah.
And not only money wise, but we didn't really consider the volume of all those watch boxes and how much space that took up. And so we didn't think about that all the way through. But basically, we had all this inventory. We were selling watch boxes like crazy. We ordered a container of it, and then the sales kind of died off, and it wasn't as hot as it used to be.
Well, more competition came in.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably still hot, but it's just, instead of there being like 1 or 2 guys, now there were like 10,
Mhm.
right? And then, like, as we got our inventory, people were buying off the Amazon one, then we get into price wars.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we tried to get the watch boxes for cheaper, and we're like, hey, we're gonna go overseas and we're gonna get it for cheaper than what Amazon is selling for. And all of a sudden, we went from being a personalizing company that was personalizing watch boxes and having an experience, a customer service experience, to somehow being a inventory company,
Yeah.
because we got this first container with all these watch boxes.
I feel like nowadays you have such a limited time frame on that finite amount of time to scale a product.
Yeah.
It's like 3 to 6 months max before, just like you said, other people start catching on to the trends. They see that sales for this item is taking off. They're going to try to compete with you. They're going to undercut you. And then boom, your sales may start dwindling if you're not staying up with the next trend.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a great solution to that. So, I mean, because it's kind of unfair too, because sometimes you do catch trends a little late, right? Like, you might see something coming, you're like, oh, it's been going on for 6 months, but I'd like to get on that train, right? And I think some things that in our industry that I love is like, hey, you don't have to only have the product in mind, right? You can bring in a product, test the product, but something you could do quickly is change the design on the product.
I was just thinking that.
Try
Yeah.
different niches, right? Try different things. But the other thing you can do is you can enhance this product by bundling with other products,
Yeah.
right? It's all about doing something different. Just because a 40-ounce tumbler was popular a year ago doesn't mean that you can post that same 40-ounce tumbler today and expect the same amount of sales
Yeah.
without doing like without making any changes.
You have to keep refreshing the product, like you said, either whether it's the design or maybe you're adding additional services to that product, like a thank you card or gift wrapping, or maybe you're adding additional products to that product. Like for a watch box, maybe you add like a cleaning towel or other products that can go with that,
Yeah.
to keep it fresh and new, so that other people that are trying to catch on to you, or you're always one step ahead of them.
Exactly. 100%. Like you gotta have the value adds, and you gotta make sure you're doing something different and
Yeah.
keeping the product exciting. But this doesn't mean I do know that a lot of people go overseas. I do know a lot of people, do that and they rely on that. And we'll get a little bit more into like more about inventory costs and holding costs later on. But we're also not saying that you shouldn't do it,
Sure.
right? But if you do it, you really need to understand what you're doing. You need to understand your numbers. You need to have the capital. You need to have margins. And yes, there's a strategy where you can go as a small business direct, and it works.
And you need to have the risk tolerance that if this doesn't work out, I'm okay with figuring this out. I'm okay with the slow sales I might get. But one of the other things I thought of that could have been a different technique instead of making such a large investment is doing like a limited time offer or a limited time quantity. So instead of ordering, 3,000 watch boxes, maybe we keep test piloting this, like you said, start small and keep ramping up, where we order a smaller amount and maybe we say, hey, 500. And maybe this is a limited time watch box, and we tell our customers we only have 500 of these coming in,
Yeah.
and see how fast they sell and how fast that goes. Because then you can make changes to that product or changes to your marketing going forward.
And you can move faster.
Yeah.
And make more changes and keep it exciting, and keep that customer in that journey. Like, wow, Gregory here is moving so fast. Like I want, like he's making so many changes. It's so new. Every 2 months, every 3 months, like I want to follow him. And then you kind of get them like attracted to you. And
Yeah.
every time you get something new, people are right there and right there. So absolutely. So yeah, I think that's definitely been. And I don't think this lesson. I think we just know this lesson well today, but I think we still falter. You and I still falter on this today. It's not like we learned this lesson and like now we're perfect.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that. We catch ourselves oftentimes, but I think the key part about it is that you catch yourself and you can recover faster and know what to do, right?
Mhm.
Like if we know we're overstocked on something, we have plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, and
Yeah.
we know what to do with that inventory, right? So and again that you can reverse back, and now we take bigger risks.
Mhm.
So you need to know your numbers, you need to know what you're doing, and once you get used to this, it can be very effective. So yeah, with that being said, I think the next topic I want to talk about, and I think it would have been good if there were tissues here because I could probably shed a few tears on
Uh-oh.
this topic.
Uh-oh. John's getting emotional.
I'm getting emotional. So let's talk about this one, and I feel like, and it wasn't until recently we started doing this, but I feel like if I had to throw out a random number, I would say like 70 to 80% of small business owners do not know their numbers. I'm just throwing it in the air, but I've talked to so many people and I'll ask them numbers and they're unfamiliar with their numbers. So let's talk a little about understanding your margins, understanding your numbers, and how that translates into a successful business.
Yeah. Well, I think one, it starts with being organized. What systems do you have in place to actually know your numbers? Are you using like an old school spreadsheet? Are you manually putting this in? Are you using QuickBooks? How are you managing if you're spending money on ads, the return on that? There's so many systems out there, and some of them can get quite expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have to start somewhere and put it down on paper, put it down on a system, so you can look at it every month.
Yeah.
At minimum every quarter, you need to be checking your numbers to know your profitability, where expenses are going, where labor is going, so it doesn't get out of control.
Absolutely. And as we've scaled our business, we've had problems with that because it gets complex. Well, like money's flying everywhere, every day,
Yeah.
constantly, right? And keeping it on track sometimes gets a little difficult. But let's go back to a situation that I always found intriguing. A very long time ago, probably 8 years ago, 9 years ago when we started on Etsy, we also hit it pretty big with a product which is the card box.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. I absolutely hated the process of making card boxes.
I love them. They were so cool looking.
Yeah, because you always just engraved them. I had to go and like sand it, and I had to go like cut the wood.
Your
And
hands like getting numb. It's
yeah,
like falling off.
you were at Chase, and I'm over here like cutting like sheet wood and like plywood.
I'm
and,
cheering you on. You got this,
yeah,
John.
yeah, and so let's talk about that because I think that we did very well with it on Etsy. Like I think we were like crushing it with card boxes.
Yeah.
To the point where like it got a little ridiculous where we had to like start hiring people because it was so crazy. But I want to debunk a theory, or I not debunk a theory, but how about I want to talk about something controversial?
Okay.
All right. So in our industry, especially in laser engraving, there's always this argument if you should charge a hourly rate or by minute rate for cut time. Okay. So if you put like a piece of plywood in the your machine and it takes 2 hours to cut that, right? Do you charge for that time or do you not? I'm gonna leave you with that, and let's get into the card box story.
Well, you want me to answer that?
Well, let's go through the story
okay.
and then let's come to
Okay.
the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the card box story, I mean, these were like 15 by 10 by 10 inch custom made plywood card boxes where we were laser engraving.
5 sides.
Yeah. All 5 sides were custom engraved. We were cutting them out of plywood. Actually, we were buying the plywood at a local
8x4.
a lumber shop. It was 8 foot by 4 feet. And I remember we have pictures of me on that big like slicer cutting machine thing. I'm over there like measuring and just like slicing them by 30 by 18 inches to fit in the laser machine. And then we ran the print. Just one print only did like 2 or 3 sides at a time.
Yep.
And it took what, like 45 minutes per sheet?
Yeah, and it was two. I'd gotten it down to where I think it was 2 sheets, so it was almost like an hour and a half to like 2 hours, depending on how crazy the prints were.
Yeah, almost 2 hours just to print the dang thing. And then remember what happened is when sometimes the wood didn't cut through all the way and we took it out of the machine and then we could never line it up again to cut it through again. And we're like, oh my God, we just spent 45 minutes on this cut file and it didn't cut all the way through. Now we got to run it again. It was like so frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that was only the beginning of it. So we had to cut it, engrave it, get it out. Then we had to sand it all. I remember in that wood shop, we were just sanding like crazy with a hand sander. We didn't have the machine where it just slide them in, you know.
Well, the tech shop didn't have it, but yeah, I'm sure it was there. But we had the orbital sander.
Yeah, orbital by hand, and then we had to glue it together. I remember the little straps we had that we like, tightened the straps all the way around and clean up the glue marks, and then we had to let it sit for like an hour at least to dry. And
what was the last step?
And the last step was putting on the top.
The lacquer.
Oh, the lacquer. Remember we offered the burned option?
Oh yeah.
We took the torch.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
We took the torch and we would burn the wood slightly to give it a rustic look.
That was a cool product. Maybe we can introduce it again.
Yeah.
We have a bigger team now.
so they could get it like a nice like matte glossy finish, or we would burn it and give it like a rustic finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. So
see, it's exciting to talk about.
Yeah,
let's not lose the point.
So the point was like these were so hot on Etsy. We're selling like 10, 15 a day. We're not even realizing it's just me and you at the time. Like, this is fun, we're making money, but how do we scale this? Like this is scaling a product, but we couldn't scale it on the labor end because our time was limited, the machine time was limited, and we couldn't keep up with production or the orders.
Yeah. Well, that was one side of it, but the other side of it was, do you remember how much we were selling the card boxes?
It was like $75.
$75. So if you were to estimate, how much time was it taking us to just engrave, clean up, and do everything? How much time did one card box take?
What do you want to say? 3 hours?
I would say 3 hours if we were lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the time that we spent doing everything, right? And if you calculate that into just like an hourly wage, which was like at the time, I think we were paying people at tech shop anywhere from like $12 to $14 an hour. So let's just like hypothetically say it was 15, 16 bucks an hour, right? 15 bucks an hour. That's 45 bucks just in labor per hour.
Plus you have the cost of the material.
Plus the cost of the material, which was probably around like 10 bucks.
Yeah.
Right? So you're at 55 bucks. Plus the cost of shipping, which is another 15 bucks, right?
We're at $70.
We're at 70 bucks. Yeah. Good grief, we're
My,
making $5 a
yeah,
card
no,
box.
minus like the credit card fees and the platform fees. We were losing money, baby.
You
Let's
know,
go. We were excited.
this is called volunteer work.
Yeah.
We volunteered and gave so many card boxes away at cost, but we didn't realize it at that time, right? We were like, cash flow is coming in, things are going good, but at the end of the day, these card boxes were taking forever. But I think this is the time where I realized, like, wow, machine time matters.
Yeah.
We need to charge for machine time. Like, those boxes should have been going for at least like $125,
Yeah.
$130, because
$150, yeah.
it didn't make sense. We were breaking even on it, and I think this is the biggest point here. If you're heavy into cutting and making signage, right? The one thing I like to do is take one product that I sell the most of, just laser engraving, and calculate how many of those I would make on the laser in 1 hour. So let's say if it's a tumbler, let's say if you're getting the tumblers for $10, you're selling it for 20. Okay? Let's say you're making $10 on a tumbler.
Sure.
Right? And let's say you can make 6 of them in 1 hour.
Okay.
So you're making $60 an hour. That's what you get, right? Now, if you're CPA, I know there's more to it than that, but just bear with me. If you're making $60 an hour and you're happy with that, then that's what you should charge for cutting. Because if you get into a problem like us where you're doing signs forever and ever and ever, your laser is now blocked up. You cannot engrave tumblers. And if you're breaking even, you're not making money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but everyone's happy with a different number. So you said if you're happy with that, $60 an hour, it's $1 a minute that you would charge on a large cut job or something like that. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, but I'm saying that don't sell a sign that takes 2 hours to make and you're not even making that much. I'm saying just make sure you have a product that you're happy. If you're happy with $60 an hour,
Yeah.
and if a card box took 2 hours to make, you need to at least charge $120 for that labor.
So make sure all your products align with the same type of margins and revenues, because like we were essentially and potentially losing money on the card boxes, but maybe on the watch boxes is where we were making everything.
Right. So on the watch boxes, we had gotten it where you engraved in the corner,
Yeah.
and that took like a minute.
Sure.
Right. And we were getting the watch boxes for, I don't know, at the time maybe $15 and selling them for 45.
Yeah.
$50. We were making $25 per watch box.
And it only took 2 minutes.
It only took 2 minutes. So now you could do 30 watch boxes, and let's say we're making $20 a watch. We're making $600 an hour just doing watch boxes.
Making like $10 a minute now.
Yeah. So now if I come back and tell you, hey Mark, do you want to sell watch boxes all day or do you want to sell card boxes? Yeah, I would quit first thing. I would not make more card boxes. I would want to do.
Are nostalgic now.
Yeah. But basically the idea there is, what is your opportunity cost, right? Like calculate your hourly cost on your machine and what you want to make on it, and base that when you're doing your cut files, because the last thing you want to do is buy a $25,000, $35,000, $45,000 machine and be breaking even on your cutouts, right? So
that was a big fail of ours, not knowing our numbers on that product. But the other thing we didn't really consider is, I feel like you have to consider that machine also an employee or a team member as well, because that machine at some point or another is going to need maintenance, is going to require downtime for cleaning, is going to require new belts and bearings, and even the laser source itself you have to replace eventually. Yeah. And so a lot of these hidden costs that people don't consider either.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I said, if you're a CPA, or if you're anyone that really meticulously manages their numbers, yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that becomes step 2, step 3, step 4. But I think initially, if it overwhelms you, if this is overwhelming to anybody, just start with knowing your bare costs. Yeah. Right. Just know like at least your blanks cost. Know what you're charging, know your shipping costs. Just make sure that you're at least coming ahead on that. But yes, you're absolutely right. You do need to know, and once you own your machine, you'll start understanding like what your maintenance cost is. How often do you have to clean it? Like we know that every Friday that our team of we have a few lasers, but every Friday we clean them because we know the importance of cleaning. Yeah. And we make sure that we're at least spending an hour going through and cleaning the belts, cleaning the X, the Ys, the mirrors, and everything is, so we know we're spending an X amount. And so you start understanding your machine, understanding your process. But I think making sure that you know your numbers, you're writing them down, and you understand your profitability and your margin is important.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone's, as a maker, your aspirations are different. Everyone has a different aspiration of how much money they want to make. Yeah. Joe over there in Texas might be okay with making $1 a minute as his side hustle, and he's going to do this just for 3 hours a night, Monday through Friday. Yeah. And that's 15 hours a week he's going to dedicate to his side hustle, and he's okay with that. But then you have other people that are trying to take it to the next level and make it more than just a side hustle, where they're going to have other costs involved. Maybe they have their own warehouse or their own office space that they're working out of. They're not able to save by working out of their garage anymore. They've got team members and payroll and these other expenses and more, costs for air conditioning and those other costs where they're going to have to make more.
Yeah. And that is a reality right now, right? There are a lot of folks at home that might not have cost, and you're competing with somebody that's charging something lower, and you're kind of like, well, I have like three machines. Like I can't, like I have payments to make. I can't break even on this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But I think this is where for another time, another podcast, but this is where really understanding your product, really understanding a service, what you're providing, sticking to your guns, talking more value than price. This is where that comes into play, right?
Yeah.
How you've branded yourself in your area, how you brand yourself online, and making sure that really pulls through and pulls out is very important in today's day and age.
Yeah.
So
know your numbers and do what works for you, because everyone's going to be different.
yeah, don't do what works for somebody that's retired,
Yeah.
because it's going to be difficult for you to make it.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
So awesome.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one here. The third one we wanted to get into is don't chase every shiny object. I feel like the card boxes were very shiny to us.
They were, but I think this next story is even wilder, and maybe we didn't learn our lesson the first time, and we really went deep on this one, and this one really hurt, and it still hurts today, I think. So let's talk about UV printing.
Who doesn't love UV printing?
Oh, love UV printing. So I think this is a good one. We'd always been laser engravers, right? We started out doing laser engraving over 10 years ago. We went to the Walmarts. We got onto Etsy. I mean, laser engraving was like in our blood, and it still is. Like I could still sit there and make a jig, and it's therapeutic for me, right?
Yeah.
And I still do. I think we did like last week. We both went and we like made this jig to try out a new product that we have, But during COVID, obviously, we didn't know what was going to happen. Like things got pretty bad, right? And we had an opportunity, and it was pretty wild. And it was so wild to the tune of we basically ended up becoming a print-on-demand company for a little while because we had to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And we ended up we had this one color printer, and you ended up finding somebody, and this is so crazy. I don't know if you remember this, but you hooked up with them on Skype.
Was it Skype?
Yeah.
Yeah, that Skype died many years ago.
Yeah, Skype. I don't know if you remember Skype. I don't know if you guys remember Skype, but we hooked up them with Skype, and they basically were there at the right time with paid ads, with Google ads, social ads, and they were feeding us anywhere between 5,000 to 7,500 tumblers per day for UV printing.
Now these were like professional Facebook, Google marketers.
Yes.
Who knew everything about getting the sale, but nothing about manufacturing, producing, fulfillment, and shipping it.
Correct.
But that's where we came into play as we became a print-on-demand service for these marketers that were getting the tumbler sales online. And we were like, well, this is pretty enticing. Who's not going to turn that kind of money down?
Yeah.
Well,
and I think this is where the shiny object comes, because what ended up happening, I don't know if you remember the story and how it goes, but it got so crazy that I have some numbers here. We were grossing just from that one client anywhere between $60,000 to $100,000 per day.
that was nuts.
Per day, right? And the object was shiny. And I mean, I was like, man, we do this for a year, we're out of here.
You know how much ink we were going through?
Oh man,
people are complaining about the $300 Eufy make, and I'm like, man, $300 was like we're going through that in like an hour.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like thousands of dollars just to refill our ink. It was nuts. I think our ink orders were like every day it was like 3,000, 6,000, 10,000. It was nuts. Yeah, but the volume was there, right? And the revenue was there, and we kind of let our foot off the engraving. The engraving was going, but we kind of let the foot off.
Yeah.
And we ended up, we had, I think, 2 machines, but they were expecting more volume. And we were like, we're going to chase this thing. We're going to chase
they were giving
to the
business to another fulfiller. And we're like, well, we want that business. Just give it all to us. And they were like, well, you can't keep up with the sales.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, screw it. We'll buy more machines.
Yeah.
And here we go again, like buying a container of watch boxes. Like, before we could even handle it, we invested in 4 more machines.
4 more machines. So our total investment now and I know people might be like, well, you made that in like 4 or 5 days. Well, yeah, it's top line 60 to 90,000, but the margin on that, it was still there, but the total investment in these machines were, I think, somewhere around 420 to $450,000,
Yeah.
right? And this relationship, I think, only lasted like 3 months,
Hmm.
2 or 3 months,
Yeah.
right? And considering that, yes, we had product costs, but not only that, but we had thought this was going to go on for a long time.
Yeah.
So we not only ordered the machines, but we ordered a lot of blanks.
Blanks.
We ordered like containers of
Yeah.
blanks for these guys.
Ink, and not only that, but the help and labor. We had hired employees
Yeah,
and a bigger team because we were running 2 to 3 shifts. We were
yeah.
running almost around the clock
Yeah,
to run these
we had two shifts
machines.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we used to come in. We used to order dinner and stuff and hang out. It was like a party at night.
Yeah.
People were just like
Yeah. Everyone loved the night
drinking.
shift, right? It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
fun.
Everyone loved. Yeah, I think we had hookahs going on. Like it was just like chill at work. It was awesome. But yeah, I think that was our biggest shiniest object. And I've told the story to a few people, but the machines still exist at MakerFlo. They're currently cleaned up and wrapped up, and they're basically big giant paperweights.
Yeah.
And we're still paying for them. And that one still hurts because we hate it so much that we put it so far behind in our warehouse that we don't see it
Yeah.
every day. And it's a difficult one to swallow. But I think it was a good mistake that now we've been able to say no to some other opportunities that don't align with us, that don't align
Well, that's
like
the
with
thing.
MakerFlo as
Yeah.
well.
That's what the big takeaway for me is really stay in your lane on what you're good at and what you know.
Yeah,
Here comes a shiny object of UV printing. We had no idea what that involved.
yeah.
And we took it on and it blew up miserably after a few months.
But I do want to say that like we just talked about knowing our numbers, right?
Yeah.
I do remember when we were doing this, there was a risk reward thing, and I had told you like, okay,
We broke it down
yeah,
to
we
the
were
penny.
like, okay, if we just like make it like even the next 2 or 3 months,
Yeah.
like that based on the payments, based on everything, like if things just go south, like we could still afford it. We're not gonna go bankrupt. Like we're not gonna be on the streets, but we're basically gonna end up not making money on this. And I think at the end of the day, now that I look back at it, we basically not ended up in that entire project. If we look at it today, we ended up not making any money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was shiny then. We were digging for diamonds. And we're finding diamonds that for those 2 3 months.
Yeah.
And imagine doing $60,000 to $90,000 a day just off of that one customer. And obviously we had more revenue coming from other sources. But imagine doing that, and it sort of all we have to show for it is
Yeah.
what we learned.
Well, I think to bring this down on a scale for our viewers, that's a huge scale that we were on with those
Yeah.
kinds of numbers. But, really tuning into your brand guidelines and following that. Because there's so many times where you get presented with an opportunity where you have a customer that's like, hey, I saw this cool sign out there on whatever, on Pinterest. Can you make this for me? And maybe that's not really your expertise, but you feel obligated to do it. But at the same time, it's okay to say no because maybe you're not able to scale that. It's going to take you more time and effort just to figure that out. And then it's not going to be the right, path for your business.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think it has a lot to do. It's up to you. You can take it on, and if it's exciting and fun for you, make sure it's profitable.
Yeah.
If not, what I like to do is like we've given business to others. Make sure you're
Yeah.
communicating, and you have a group of people that you know in the industry, and you can always pitch that over to somebody that is an expert at it.
Yeah.
There's no harm in that. There's no foul in that. And that customer that you lent to somebody else, like they'll come back to you for something else. Don't be afraid to like recommend people here and there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Recommend.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like what goes around comes around. You'll if if it's not that customer, or if it's not that business that you recommended that recommends it back to you, I swear karma is a thing, and it'll come back to you. And don't worry, don't overthink it. So
Like it.
yeah, so those two, man, knowing your numbers and yeah, the shiny thing, the UV printing thing, like I said, it still hurts. Just saying UV printing hurts me. So yeah, but anyways, let's move on to the next one.
Let's do it.
So this one is a big one, especially if you're just starting out, because with this one, if you're just starting out, you don't think this is a big thing. If you're an established business, this is the one thing that everyone is harping on, whether it's an influencer, whether it's an experienced business owner, and you're getting guidance and mentorship. But I think this one's a good one to talk about because this helped us. Well, this is an interesting story too. So, lesson number four that I have here is build and review your systems as you go. Systems are very important in a business.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, and one thing I do want to say is I rely on Mark hardcore on systems because I'm terrible with them. But Mark, let's talk about ShipStation and CRMs.
Yeah. Well, I think with systems, it's important to document them, to put them down on, a Google document and go back to them and keep updating them and keep reviewing them to keep them fresh and to keep making them efficient as well. But yeah, what would you like to know about ShipStation?
Well, I still don't know anything about it. No, so what I wanted to ask you is when we had first started, we were on Etsy, and and we basically the orders that were incoming on Etsy. I remember we had the option of shipping on Etsy,
Oh yeah.
and then the way the orders came in, the way we were designing the orders, and everything we were doing, it was just overwhelming. And to some point, we were like, hey, we're shipping so much volume, we should get discounted rates that let us to work with FedEx. But anyways, we there was it was just so cumbersome to use Etsy system when we were 2,000 orders deep, right? It was just not conducive to a efficient. We like you were engraving faster than I could design back then.
Yeah.
Because like you had to keep hitting next, 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 and then when we were printing the labels, like it was printing on like an 8.5 by 11
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we were taping to the
Oh my
box.
God. We
Remember?
were printing like the receipt from Etsy and then the label on paper and we're like taping the paper down and it was like, it
Yeah,
was so bad.
it took forever, and then you like rip a paper and you gotta reprint it, go find. I mean, it was just madness. It was crazy, right? And the other thing that keep in mind that we were doing all this. That was just one part of it. The other part was we were getting the orders. We were meeting at your house. Then we used to go to the storage. We used to load from the storage to the car, take the car to to the place where we were engraving,
Yeah.
unload the car, then unload the boxes and load the boxes, load it in the car, bring it to your house, and then we were doing customer service. Then we were printing the labels. Then we were packaging the orders. Then we were loading the van again, and then we were going and unloading it. I mean, it was madness,
Yeah.
right? And within all that, you're dealing with this. So let's talk about how we use Ship Hero to really,
ShipStation.
or ShipStation to really enhance our systems and kind of bring it all together
Yeah.
and make it efficient.
I mean, ShipStation was a great addition to our facility to be efficient because we were able to bring in not only the orders from Etsy, but orders from all the marketplaces. If we were on Amazon or Walmart or even our own Shopify store, all those orders could come into one centralized system. The thing I love best about ShipStation is the tags.
Yeah,
The tags and the notes you can put on the order. So we use tags and those colors like nobody's business to tell us and our team where that order was in the process.
correct.
And we had to systemize that. We had to put on the document what all the colors meant and what they were so that when we had new team members come on, it's like, hey, here's a document that goes over ShipStation so you can understand it all. And it just made everything super efficient. When we printed the labels, remember we were like finding out like where do we even buy these labels from? FedEx like would give us some and they didn't work that well and we bought them from other sources, but we were able to print the labels with the receipt all on like two tickets connected to each other. And we're like, oh, heck yeah, this is sweet.
Yeah.
It's like way organized. Hit that print button and that Zebra printer just kept spitting those labels out. Before you knew it, we were like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, and I remember back then, like now you have like 100 options for thermal printers,
Yeah.
but Zebra back then was like the cream of the crop. And I remember like we were like, wait, how much is this machine?
Yeah. Well, remember before the Zebra, we had like some, what printer did we have? Maybe we had to keep buying those cartridges. It was what printer
Oh,
was that?
I don't remember, but I kind of
Like a
remember it.
toner thing we had to buy.
Yeah, like a toner printer. Yeah, it was the same. I think it's the same process, but
Yeah.
but this one was actually meant for a warehouse,
So
and
the Zebra printer, there's no ink.
Yeah.
It's a thermal printer that
thermal.
heats the paper up,
Correct.
right?
Correct. It's a thermal printer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But these were little systems and these are systems that we put in place, and it made it faster.
Mhm.
But one thing I want to talk about systems is once you set a system, it doesn't mean you're done. Like it's not going to work forever.
Yeah.
Like you set a system and then you end up breaking them, and you have to be ready to change with it. So I think one great thing we did with ShipStation was that we implemented it at with our shop and stuff, and we got faster, we got better, our costs decreased, so we could offer a more competitive price because our shipping went down.
Yeah.
We just got everything connected. We were designing faster, like everything was happening faster. And then came Q4.
Yeah.
And our systems were so good, right? That what happened during Q4, especially after Black Friday.
Well, I know what happened. We were at my house and we were scaling so many orders. We had like boxes, like we couldn't even fit them in my house anymore. We started just stacking boxes outside my front yard. And remember the USPS truck would back into my like on my
You
landscaping.
didn't have front yard.
Yeah, he would
Yeah.
back into my landscaping all over the rocks, and we were just like tossing the boxes in there. And we had trash up the yin yang. We were breaking down cases of product, and we had like stacks of cardboard going. We had the blower machine out the window, like making like crazy noises, and like my neighbors are walking their dogs. Like, what kind of facility are they running over there? This does not seem legal. Like,
Yeah.
this is a drug house. Like, what are they making in there?
Yeah.
There's like smoke and wood particles going out into the air and stuff. It was
I
it
mean,
was nuts.
we did have the engraver connected into your dryer vent, so it was literally blowing everything up from the top of
I
your
cleaned my
house.
clothes. They smell like fresh wood. It was so good.
But yeah, we had the systems, and we did our systems so well that it worked a little too well, and we ran into so many other problems like what you just said, and then that had led to something else where the city wanted to sue you and put you in jail. So
Yeah.
that's a problem we ran into. But
Yeah.
then the other problem we ran into is we ended up getting too many orders. It got so crazy that like at the time we just used to put thousand inventory on everything,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, we had no idea what our expectation was during Thanksgiving. And I remember like the first or second day after the Thanksgiving weekend, and I think we crossed something like in one day we did something like 854 orders, and like majority of them were like watch boxes and like something else. And we were kind of like, okay, well, we had systems, but I think they just broke and because we don't have the people, we don't have the time. It's physically impossible to get that many orders out, for watch boxes and stuff with one machine, right? And basically, like, I love this story because it tells you how you can be successful with systems, but you can't just stop there.
Yeah.
You have to create the systems. You have to anticipate what may or may not happen. Don't dwell over it, but just kind of have a plan past your system and be ready to change your system and be ready to kind of move and shake because that's just how business works,
Yeah.
right?
I feel like when systems break, we take that as such a personal challenge to fix it and improve it.
Yeah.
And if you can just grasp that idea of a challenge, but really attacking it on a personal level and say, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to make it better and improve it and make it more efficient, that's how you can really grow a business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a great way to put it is like, don't be afraid of systems. Don't be afraid of systems
Yeah.
breaking. Just always be there to understand what's going on and be ready to kind of pivot with it.
Yeah. When it breaks, you can't get discouraged and be like, oh man, that broke. That didn't work. Like I'm tapping out. Like,
Yeah.
no, this is a personal challenge. What's next? I can do this. I can make this better. Let's go and keep improving it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And systems is another great thing that we can talk about in detail. And again, I want everyone to understand that all these points, it's not something that Mark and I have figured out 100% either. These are
Mhm.
just things we've learned, the hiccups we've had, the failures we've had, and like some in epic proportions. I'm talking, about $500,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for us. And there's more. Yeah, the next topic here that I'm about to get into is another good one. So with that being said, I do want to say that we're not experts at how to do these best, but what I can say is that we have a lot of experience in them. And one thing that we've learned is how to get up and go, right? I think that's the biggest thing is don't dwell, get up and keep going and keep going and keep learning and keep getting better and keep improving.
Yeah.
But let's get into this next one because I find this story endearing. I find this story interesting. And lesson number 5 here that I have is if you own a business, right? There's a lot of times that you'll listen to people and you're like, hey, you should sell this product, and they every time they're like, I don't like it, and it's like, well, it's not about you, it's about who you're servicing,
Mhm.
right? I think there is something to be said that sell something that you do appreciate, but if that goes to an extreme, you're never gonna sell anything, right? You can't be overly picky.
Yeah.
But lesson number 5 that I have here is listen more, ask more questions, and don't talk that much.
Don't talk that much.
Be
Listen more than you talk,
yes,
right?
yes, listen more, and especially if you own a business, because one thing that people don't understand is people love to tell you what they want and what they
But you
like.
got to be listening.
But if you don't listen, then it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Exactly. It's like the answer is right in front of you.
Yeah.
You just have to just shut up and listen, right? So I think this is a wonderful story, and I want you to talk about it because you went through it. But this is basically the story of how MakerFlo, when we initially started, we were selling wood boxes, we were selling watch boxes, and things like that. But what really took MakerFlo to the next level were tumblers.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how, Mark, you're the reason why we're selling tumblers, and the story on how the whole tumbler journey started.
So we were selling tumblers about 10 years ago. And these were powder coated tumblers that we were selling. And, like just like any good engraver, out there, you have some mishaps and you misprint, you misengrave some tumblers. And we had plenty of them, and we were like, what the heck do we do with these misprints? Like nobody's going to want, I got to go out there and find a Linda and a Bob and a Susan, to try to match the names to
Yeah,
future buyers,
yeah,
or maybe it was messed up anyways. There's nothing you could do with it. Maybe the machine shut down mid print. Now you can't line it up again to get it perfectly engraved. So I was just like, screw it. Let's put these misprints like on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, maybe we can get our costs back for it, like at minimum. Maybe we can get our like $5-6 back for the cost of these things back then. And before you know it, one of my sister's friends, or my cousin's friends, Janine, who lives about 45 minutes from here, reached out to me and she's like, "Hey, I see you have these misprint tumblers. How many do you have?" I was like, "I don't know, like 50 more." I'm like, we had tons of them. I didn't want to, I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to tell her how many we had because
yeah,
it was a lot of tumblers. I'm like, I think we have like 50 or so, and she's like, "I'll take them all." I was like, come on, Janine, like, what do you mean you'll take them all? It's like hundreds of dollars. Like, what are you doing with these things?
yeah,
She's like, "Oh, I'm going to cover them up anyways. It doesn't matter what's on them. I'm going to epoxy and glitter over them." I was like, epoxy and glitter over them? I'd never heard of this. But I'm listening. I'm like, tell me more, like, tell me what you're doing with these things. And she's sending me pictures of them. I'm like, holy crap, this is incredible.
yeah.
Like the artwork and the time and effort she's putting into these things. And she keeps buying up all of our misprints. And she's like, well, do you have like other sizes and other shapes? And I'm listening and I'm listening. And I'm like, crap, this is all we have, is like, we just have a few options. I'm like, all right, Janine, like, let me order some more tumblers for you. They won't be misprints. They'll be perfectly good, but I'll get you the sizes that you need. And then she tells me, well, they don't need to be powder coated. They could just be stainless steel. It's even easier for me to customize them. I just sand them up and stuff. So like, okay. And this is where MakerFlo really got started. We didn't have MakerFlo back then. It was kind of an idea of ours of selling our supplies and our blanks. But once we hooked up with Janine and we got into the stainless steel tumbler game, that's where MakerFlo really started.
Yeah, and I remember, I love that story so much because I remember back then, Yeti, was blowing up, and I'm like, oh man, like, are we really gonna like try to like compete with tumblers? Like,
Yeah.
it was just like Yeti was just all over the place, and it was that thing where it was kind of like it would have been such a huge failure. It would have been an epic failure if we didn't get into it, because if it wasn't for the tumblers, we probably wouldn't even be here, because that was the one product that just shot MakerFlo to success. This was years ago. But yeah, it is crucial to listen. And I think there is the epic failure in that was we didn't start with it because we thought that we made the assumption that it wouldn't work,
Yeah.
right? The learning thereafter is that you just have to listen to the customer, and majority of the times you'll get the answer. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great story.
I feel like every question you get from a customer can be a pivot, could be a turning point in your business, can be an opportunity zone for you to take that question and improve your listing, improve your business, improve your products to move forward. Yeah, we talk a lot about staying in your lane, John. So if our viewers out there are like, okay, well, one minute you talked about staying in your lane and what your brand is all about, what you're passionate about, but at the same time, you guys took an engraving business and turned it into a supply business, and that
Yeah.
wasn't really staying in your lane. How would you answer, those types of questions?
Yeah, I think that has to do with our engraving business grew. We were cash flow positive. We could take a little bit more risk on. We understood our numbers. It made sense logically to start customizing our product so we were unique because there was only one or two suppliers.
Yeah,
So yes, there was logic behind it, and that's why we went overseas because we can now customize, make it our own, but then also get a lower cost basis. And then we started supplying it because there was a demand for it, right? And so at the end of the day, it started with us wanting to do business, right? To be business people. But then our whys changed on the way, right? Now we're all about, instead of just providing a product, we're about our main goal is being good, doing good, and spreading good, right? That's what it's come down to. Now it has become about basically making sure the entire industry grows and the entire industry succeeds,
yeah,
right? And so I think our journey really goes to show that yes, when we talk about it in bits and pieces, they're great lessons, but when you see it as a whole story, it you can connect the dots and it makes sense,
yeah,
right? Um, and I think that's where I think us talking about our experiences and this topic is so integral is like really understanding when you zoom in, it's different than when you zoom out. And when you start getting experiences and you start understanding a lot of these
yeah,
things, and that's why I said before, we still make some of these mistakes, but it's knowing how to handle them, it's knowing what to do with it and how to proceed and how to get back and keep going. I think that's a big thing to learn
yeah.
out of today's podcast.
Business is changing like so fast. You have to understand the concept of pivoting and keep improving and pivoting. It's a triple threat, to keep pivoting. A triple threat in like basketball is like when you catch the ball, you can either shoot it, you can pass it, or you can dribble it. It's triple threat. So in business, it's a A, B, and C. You get past the ball, you got to figure out: are you gonna dribble it? Are you gonna shoot it? Or are you gonna pass it? You got to have plan A, plan B, and plan C on what direction your business is going to go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And to start out, like even if you start out in basketball, what do you start out with? As like what is one of your first drills that you start out with?
In
Probably
basketball,
yeah,
yeah. I
probably
mean,
dribbling the
learning, yeah.
ball.
I mean, as a kid, you're just sitting there dribbling.
Yeah.
You're,
So if you came in and you were like, all right, you got to dribble the ball, do a 3 pointer, do a this, do a layup, do a dunk.
yeah,
Yeah, you can't focus on anything, right?
yeah,
But then when you look at LeBron, what does he do? He dunks the ball, he hits threes, he can shoot free throws, he could play a small forward. I'm not a basketball expert here by any means, but basically what I know is he's an all rounder, right?
yeah,
And I feel like I wouldn't say we're LeBron James, but we're kind of an all rounder where we can take some of these things and we can put it together and we can move fast.
yeah,
Whereas if you're just starting out, you just need to focus on dribbling and
yeah.
then you need to focus on shooting and then slowly you'll do everything together in a manner that you're doing the dance properly. So
Yeah. Listen more and ask questions was the concept of this failure. And I feel like at MakerFlo, we are constantly observing the emails that come in to our customer service.
yes.
And we're like, man, okay, we're listening. And then what do? We ask them a question. Okay, how can we improve that for you? And we're consistently trying to improve their experience, improve the products themselves. And I feel like that is super important to do.
Yeah, and all those replies come to me. I think people think it's some fake thing that, it does come to me and I
Yeah.
do reply to those. And I also feel, I know we send a lot of emails, but I swear to God, there's so much content and there's so much meat in those emails. And the whole reason we send them is to make sure that there's something in it for you. And then, for us, I really want to know how else we can improve the industry,
Yeah.
right? Know our why and know, why we're doing
So
this
so
and
if you're a small business, if you're a customization business and you keep getting the same questions in your inbox, maybe it's, do you offer gift wrapping? Do you offer rush processing? Do you offer expedited shipping? Do you offer a gift note?
Yeah.
These are all things you have the opportunity to improve your business, offer these additional services to your customers to win them over your
Yeah,
competition.
and it builds your brand, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the epic failure is if you don't listen, you don't build a brand. And building a brand right now is extremely essential. So, um, that's for let's leave that for another podcast.
Okay.
So we're almost done here. I know this is kind of a long one, and it was actually longer, so I cut it even shorter. So let's get into this one because I think this story is absolutely hilarious. Let's go to lesson number 6 here, and maybe you can kind of go through this one, Mark. But take care of yourself and your loved ones, and burnout's a real thing. I'll also state that I've never worked more in my life until I quit my job. I think I worked at least double or triple what I used to do when I was at my corporate job. But with this being said, it is important to take care of ourselves. And one of the biggest failures that still haunts me to today was we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about
Okay,
it.
I haven't read this yet, and now I'm like, okay, this is where we're going. Okay,
This is where we're going.
okay.
So I think this story is phenomenal, but it is a massive failure. And I think, I mean, yeah. Well, let's just go over the story. But this, so this is a story about relationships and owning a business. So yeah, take it on, Mark.
Yeah, so getting into business as an entrepreneur, I feel like you have to find, you got to be intentional with your time. Number one, you have to be open and honest with your family and your loved ones about the commitment you're about to make. Because they got to be on board with this too, and they got to be able to support you. I mean, me and you spend more time together than we do with any significant other, any family member, any teammate we have. It's, our business partners and our team we spend the most time with.
Yeah.
And I mean, we and you have been friends since middle school, went to the same high school together, studied together in college, started our first business in college. And ever since then, we've been connected to the hip.
Yeah.
And so, we were so dedicated to the business at one point, this girl I was dating, she just didn't believe me that I was spending so much time with you. She was like, "Hey, no way you're spending this much time growing this business, and studying." And it just got out of control. And we didn't
Well, keep in mind we were going full-time school.
full-time school,
We had full-time jobs.
full-time working,
And we starting
a business.
Yeah, so 8 hours a day we were working.
Yeah, there was no time for a
9 hours a day.
girlfriend. What the heck was
Yeah.
I thinking?
Yeah,
That was
I
stupid.
don't know why you weren't trying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were smarter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like you really need to be intentional about dedicating time towards other, your weekends, your nights, and letting people know like what
Being
your
intentional with your personal life.
what
Yeah.
your intentional is. But anyways, this girl I was dating she was wanting to hang out this night or something. I don't know. You tell this story way better than I do because to me it was
Well,
like
because I think I was traumatized.
it was a blur for me,
It was-
So why don't you tell the rest of the story?
All right. So basically, what happens is this is in our early days, and Mark and I are just becoming good friends. We started a business, and this was during Backup Souls, and we were like grinding. Like I used to get to Mark's house. I think, I mean, I used to go to work at like 6 a.m. in the morning and be at Mark's house probably 1 to 2 a.m. because we were studying, doing homework, running the business. Like it was crazy, right?
You stayed over, man.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to spend all my time with
Yeah,
you. You had a girlfriend. Like what would have
slept
that?
in the car?
Nah,
You probably just
yeah.
rolled around the corner, slept in the car, and came back.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have probably been smarter. But anyways, one night, Mark had roommates back then, so this was like when we were like 21.
Why didn't you ever become a roommate of mine?
Because
Man?
you were packed. You had a full house. Yeah. Sheesh. And you never asked.
Put it back on me. I said,
could've
show me
stayed
the
in-
money.
I could've
Show me
stayed
the
in-
money.
Yeah, I could have stayed in the living room.
Yeah.
But so we used to study in Mark's room. Mark had the master, and so we studied in his room. He had a computer, desk, and everything. And one day, we're looking at the computer, and the entrance is in the back, and I think we were talking to our supplier. It was like on Alibaba or something. We're like just deep in it, right? And all of a sudden, we just hear. And like the door opens and just bangs on the wall, right? And here comes Mark's girlfriend, and she goes, "I knew it! You were cheating on me!" And and I remember, I can never forget this. I remember looking back and feeling, "Oh crap, we got caught." And then I'm like, "Wait, what did we get caught on?" I'm like, "I'm not cheating on him." I'm like, "Hold on, what do I?" And I swear to God, at that moment, I felt like we were in a relationship and we totally got caught. Like, and like I was like the one that broke up the relationship. And I ended up being the guy that broke up the relationship because we were so hysterical. We were so tired that
Yeah.
I was traumatized. You were hysterically laughing. and your girlfriend ended up leaving, and you didn't even chase her.
Bro, I don't
Like,
get mad. It's hard to get me that upset. I laughed it off because she was texting me like, "This is BS. You're lying to me. There's no way. You're still studying. You're still working on the business. And then here she comes busting through the door. How the hell did you get in the house to begin with? I don't know. The front door was open. Probably some roommate left the door open.
Yeah.
She comes right into the house, right into the master bedroom. It was like, I knew it. Points right at us.
Oh no, she said,
Yeah.
I knew it. You were cheating on me, and she didn't take a name. And I just looked back, and I'm sure my eyes were like, yeah, he's cheating on you. I mean, no, he's not.
We just cracked the book open. That's all we're doing.
All right, it's like 10 years later, and we joke about it because it was very traumatizing. And but it is a sad truth that yes, relationships, it does get affected.
Yeah.
Right.
And you gotta communicate. I being that young, I was not a good communicator, back then. And you got to be open and communicate better, when you're starting a business.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it wasn't the first time either for us because we were learning, and maybe it happened one or two more times, and not the same cheating thing, but but just the relationships. It was harder to maintain relationships and things like that. And I think now we've learned, you have to be upfront, you have to be honest, and you sometimes have to be willing to say no too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an epic one. So let's round this out. I want to end up with one quick quote. Just tell me what this means to you, and then we can kind of we can close out this episode.
Okay.
So I saw this and I love this as a quote, right? And the quote is, and you can take this as lesson number 7. You can take it as just like a quick, just the takeaway, right?
Yeah.
And it goes, let's play to win, not avoid losing.
Mm.
So, Mark, tell me what that means to you. Let's play to win, not avoid losing.
Oh man, that when you avoid losing, you're just trying to make ends meet, and you're almost like okay with just doing the average or the basic or the minimum needs to avoid losing. You're not going above and beyond to be different and differentiate yourself in your business to grow and be better. When you play to win, you're doing things that are greater than any of your competitors are. You're thinking futuristic. You're thinking ahead. You're listening to your customers. You're going through all these pain points that we had to be different.
Yeah.
Because when you're just playing to not to lose, then it could become a price battle too.
Yeah.
And this could become a bottom to the barrel battle. And it's like, well, I'm not going to lose. I'm just going to price myself a little bit cheaper, you know? Well, then what happens? Maybe your competitor says the same thing. Well, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to price myself a little bit cheaper, And that's playing not to lose.
Yeah.
Is when you're so focused on price, for me, that's playing not to lose. When you're focused on value, benefits, features, giving your customers what they're asking for, now you're playing to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you put it wonderfully. And I feel like one, build your brand, where I feel like when you were talking about price, it's kind of like, for me, it's like if you get a new product and the first thing goes like, hey, what's someone else selling it for? Can I do it for cheaper?
Yeah.
Is like,
it's the mindset.
Right. It's like you're basically just trying to introduce something so you kind of stay in the game versus being the game.
Yeah.
Like being the trend. Like coming in and saying you get something and it's like, oh, I'm going to sell this tumbler. I think I can sell it for $35. Doesn't matter what's online because you know your value.
Yeah.
Because you know your brand. Because you know what you're offering. And when somebody comes to you and says like, oh no, I can get it for $15, and you saying, oh, that's totally fine. Like I know my value. I know what I'm selling.
Exactly.
And it's $35.
Yeah.
And most of the times I've realized that people are like, oh, well, maybe it is. Okay, yeah, maybe I will get it from you,
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised that happens. But I think really understanding, and the other thing is believing it. And you believe more in yourself when you play to that, right? Play to win, playing offense and not defense.
Yeah.
So I love that quote, and I feel like we can learn a lot from that quote.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times customers reach out and they're like trying to negotiate with you. They're trying to bring the price down. They're just driving you down,
Yeah.
And if you're playing not to lose, you might side with them and say, okay, yeah, I can do it that low of a price. But when you're playing to win, you stand your ground.
Yeah.
You stick to your value, your core benefits of your business, and say, no, this is why I charge what I charge, because I'm a premium product, premium service, premium materials, premium equipment. We've got the best team in town. This is what you get when you pay what you pay.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you play that game that way, you tend to believe it 150% too. There's a lot of times like you'll talk to somebody and you'd be like, "Oh, this is not worth 35 bucks." And we're like, "Yeah, well, yeah, I got it for like $5." Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Don't even go there."
Yeah.
Like now you're so down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole. You've forgotten why you even started this
Just
business,
put
you
it back
know?
on them. Be like, why don't you buy the expensive laser machine? You
Yeah.
learn how to run it and operate it. You hire the team and you do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that a lot. And maybe some of you guys out there, put it on your wall, put it on your board somewhere on your machine that you want to play to win. You always want to play to win. That's the way you want to run your business. That's the way you have longevity. That's the way you understand your why, you live your why, you tell your why, and that's the way you do business, and that's the way you're gonna have a long lasting business. So
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a
So
great quote. I love it.
yeah. So, well, with that being said, I think that's a lot of lessons. That's a lot of stories. It's a lot of storytelling
Yeah.
by us. We always like to kind of look back and reminisce on all these
It's fun to
things.
reminisce.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's do some closing remarks, Mark, if you have some, and let's call this podcast to
Yeah.
an end here.
I mean, closing remarks for me is, these challenges, these failures that you have as starting a business, running a business, scaling a business is, don't let those mistakes take you down and put you down. Take those as a personal challenge to improve your processes, offer more to your customers, and take them as a challenge to do better and to grow your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, it's just life telling you, like, hey, Mark, you just improve this,
Yeah.
right? Like it's literally just telling you.
Yeah.
And if you do it, you either win or you win.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
If you're not growing, you're failing. So with every failure, you can turn that into a growth opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great way to end it all. I appreciate everyone that's tuning in. I appreciate everyone that's been watching us. And if you haven't, please make sure that you check out episode 1, episode 2. Please make sure that you also leave some comments wherever they're going to be. I'm not really sure. Put it in the
Well, I
video,
got a
guys.
challenge for any of our listeners. If you're listening, I got a challenge for you is to put one of your failures in the comment
Oh,
and let us know. Let us know what you failed on, but also let us know what you learned and how you grew from that.
I love that. I love that. So watchers can. I think I love that because I think a lot of people don't understand how many people around them are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Right? As we started talking to so
Sure.
many people, we
Yeah.
realized like, wow, we're not alone in this. And I think a lot of us sit in our room with our laser and our sales are down or something's not right, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. Well, it's not. A lot of us have gone through some stuff. A lot of people just talk, and I think this is a great way for you to start this conversation in the comments.
Yep.
So let's get it.
Awesome, guys. So once again, comment, like, subscribe. We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts. So come on over and check us out so you catch all the future episodes. And we'll see you next time. Appreciate you watching.